What's going on, guys? My name is Brandon, and what an exciting day we're going to have today. This is a day that I've been looking forward to for a little while. We're going to start assembly on the 2001 KTM 250 two-stroke budget build. Let's get going. Today is an exciting day, guys. I just got the frame back from the powder coaters. Check it out. This thing came out awesome. I am so impressed how they did this. The color of this is called anodized black, and it's not a bright color. It's not a shiny color, but it's also not, I wouldn't say it's completely flat black. But the one thing that I do love about this, look, when you touch it, look, you know how like flat black paint will leave fingerprints? This does not. Like, watch, it'll leave, I'm squeezing this frame, watch. It'll leave like a little ring of moisture. Give it a minute. Almost gone. There. Look at that. Completely gone. It leaves no traces behind a fingerprint. So yeah, I love it. I'm super happy how this came out. Now, some of you guys might have seen my live video. I actually went live when this was powder coated. For those of you that saw it, awesome. If not, I'm going to add it in here and you guys can check out how this frame was powder coated, how the process is done, and I'll add in a bunch of clips that you did not see if you did see this live into this clip now. So here's some stuff that if you did watch the live video you wouldn't have seen. So I brought this frame to the powder coater and it was fairly clean. I just kind of degreased it a little bit, then brought it to him. Then what happens next is that they sandblast the frame right down to bare metal to get it ready for the next process. You can see that's the machine that does this. Now what he's doing is he's applying a etching primer onto the frame. So what that does is that just helps the top coat bond. But prior to him putting on this, he's put plugs in all the little holes of the frame that matter, because after a while this will go on this baked finish and it will actually make the holes smaller. So like if you have threaded areas and they don't plug it off, it'll cause a lot of problems. You'll have to go back through and tap all your holes out and everything like that. So he's being really meticulous and he's doing a great job, and it actually shows in the finished product that you're going to see here in a little bit. So now what he's doing is he's going to take this part and he's going to put it in the oven, and that oven is right around 390 degrees. Look how huge this thing is. I mean, you could just about put a vehicle in there, and I'll tell you, when those doors open up, it is wicked hot. So that stays in there for about 5 minutes and then he pulls it back out. That looks cool. Wow. Yeah. That looks awesome. Okay, guys, so I'm at Mainely Handrails and Powder Coating in Fairfield, and Josh has already put the frame in the oven. It's been in for like 5 minutes or so. He's already got it in primer, and now he's putting on the actual powder. What color was this? Carbon black?
Anodized black.
Anodized black is what we're going with. This was a really interesting process to watch, guys. I had never seen this before. So the way it was explained to me, or how I understand it, is that you have an electrically charged part, which is my motorcycle frame that's right there. Right by his knee, he has like a little ground clamp that he clipped to that little metal rack, that portable metal rack that he has. And that machine is sucking up the powder. The powder's coming out of the gun, and as the powder comes out of the gun, it's being electrically charged or making contact with the part. So my motorcycle frame, it's like drawing the powder to it. So he's making sure to get a nice even coverage all around. He did a super good job, and you can also tell that he did a super good job because every hole on the motorcycle, like I just talked about, was blanked off. I didn't have to go back through and drill out anything or take care of it. Just, he took a lot of pride and it came out really nice. So this is the machine that's putting it on. It's like sucking it out of that little bucket down there. Wow, that looks awesome. So now what? Now what happens?
Now it bakes in the oven.
that's hot.
Now it bakes in the oven to 392 degrees.
How much?
392 degrees for 15 minutes.
So how long is that going to be in the oven for?
It's got to get up to 392 degrees the pot.
Yeah.
Then it stays in for 15 minutes.
What's that?
Then it stays in for 15 minutes. After the
Okay.
pot reaches 392.
Awesome. Awesome.
So you're talking probably 30, 25, 30.
Okay, cool. So as soon as they put the part in the oven, they kept measuring the temperature of it, and once it got up to 390 degrees, then it stayed in there for another 15 more minutes, and now here it is coming out after that time. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I love it. Oh my God, that looks awesome.
It just lays so flat.
Oh, yep. Thank you for telling me to get that one, Josh. I like it. Oh yeah. And while I got it torn down this far, what I want to do is I want to knock out this bearing race up here, and then there's another one right below at the bottom, right here. So I'm going to knock that out and replace it with new. And because that's such a critical part, and it would be so difficult to get to after you've assembled the bike, that I didn't want any problems, that I actually ordered it direct. These are OEM, KTM, roller bearings and races, seals, everything. We're going to replace all of the stuff in here. So I got to tap those out. Now, this race has a bearing that rides against it. I'll show you. So that's the triple clamp. So I think, yeah, this is the top side. There's a bearing right up under there. There's another bearing there that's pressed on and a seal underneath. I've got all new. So we'll get this separated and all apart. New bearings on this and new bearings in the steering stem. Now they make a special tool to drive out this bearing race. I'm going to see if I can do it with just like a punch down through the bottom. And you're probably wondering, well, why did you powder coat it first and leave these in? Because powder coating, if you get a little bit of powder coat on something, it increases the thickness. And I didn't want to take a chance of the new bearings in races getting damaged from powder coat, so I left the old ones in. And the reason I didn't press them out is because I was concerned that if a little bit of powder coating got in behind where this bearing race goes, that I'd have to actually grind that off the frame, the powder coat, to be able to get the new bearing in. So this way I know if once I drive this bearing race out, the new one will go right back in easily. All I've got is just a long drift punch, and I'm going to run it up through the bottom of the neck, and I'm just going to tap it up gently. And there we go, guys. And there it is, just like that. And there's literally no damage at all done to the steering neck. Now we just have to do the other side. And that should be just as easy as what we just did. Just pushing it out. There it is. You can see this one had like a little bit of almost like rust on it. And when it was together, I felt a slight amount of notchiness when I turned the handlebars, and that was probably that. So this will make it, this will be as good as new. This will outlast me. These bearings right here, I'll never have to replace them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a little piece of Scotch-Brite and clean up all the way around the inside of that lip. And you can probably see real close up, there's like a couple places like right here where the powder coating chipped off. That's not a big deal because the seal goes over that. So what we'll do is we'll just touch that up after we get the bearing in with some black paint just to protect it from rust. We'll put a little bit right there, and yeah, then the steering stem, everything covers that, and the seal, all that, so you'll never see any of that. So that'll be just fine. So we'll Scotch-Brite that up, a little piece of Scotch-Brite, do the same thing for the bottom, and get ready to put the bearings in. And you can see now how nice and clean that looks down in there. I did that to the top, and like I say, you're not looking to take away any material, you're just looking to polish it up a little bit just to get off any surface oxidization that's on there that could interfere with the bearing going in. And we'll put a little layer of grease around that before we push the bearing in anyways. Alright guys, so the next thing we got to do is we got to drive in new races or bearing races inside that steering neck. Now the way to do that is really not use a socket. You really need the right tool. So it came down to either I was going to pay somebody to do it or I was going to buy the tool myself. I looked up the tool online and they're long dollar. They're really expensive. So I found a cheap alternative at Harbor Freight. Check it out. So for about 32 bucks, I bought this kit from Harbor Freight. It comes with a driver, so you'd hit this with a hammer. And it comes with, look at all the different sizes, all the way up to 81 millimeter down to 39.5 millimeter. The one we need is 50 millimeter. Now watch how this works. You see how these edges are all tapered? Well, you take your new bearing race and that fits in there just like that. You see how that kind of like cradles the bearing race, and it has a little land right here that the race sits against. So now you just put that in the steering neck, put your driver adapter onto it, and then just hit it into the steering neck. So that's the right tool to use, and it was economical, and I'll have it for other things if I need it. So I kind of have my reservations a little bit about this because I don't want to burn the powder coat, but I think if I can heat this metal up just a little bit, it's going to expand it slightly. I don't know the formula, but there is a formula for every 100 degrees that you heat metal, it expands a certain percentage. So that'll just make it so that I'm pounding on the bearing a lot less. Now this is my first time ever doing something like this, so probably if I had one of those like infrared thermometers like the one that they used at the powder coaters to check the temperature of the frame, it would have been a little bit more handy, but I don't have one of those, so I'm just kind of like heating it up, checking it with my hand a little bit. When it starts getting like too hot to touch, then I kind of know I'm getting kind of where I want to be. But yeah, this worked out great. It expanded it just enough to make it easy. Now you got to remember, this is baked in the oven at over 300 degrees, so it can stand a little bit of heat, you know. Now in the past I generally probably would have like sanded this down and painted it myself, but then I kind of did a little bit of research, and for the money it's not a whole lot more money than it is to actually paint it, considering you're getting something that's corrosion resistant, weather resistant, it's extremely durable, it doesn't fade very easily, and it's chemical resistant. Plus, it's just not a lot of hassle. You drop it off and you pick it up and it's done. Alright, let's give it a try. The idea is to hit it in evenly. Oh yeah, piece of cake. And you can hear it just bottomed out. That was super easy, guys. Oh yeah, piece of cake. Yep. Couldn't ask for more. And the nice thing about these little pieces here, this is all aluminum. So it's real easy on the surface of the bearing race. Yeah, like that bearing race right now, that's hot. When I touch that, it like burns my finger. So it's transferred the heat into that race. So we did the right thing by heating it up. It expanded this, I think, just enough to make it a little bit easier to drive in. Now let's flip it over and do the other side. So this is one of the great things with this table that you can see here as I'm flipping over the frame, I'm able to secure this strap on it just to kind of help hold everything in place. And now I'm just doing the same thing that I did on the other side, and that's just heating it up just hot enough so that it's hot in my hand or that it would burn me, and then it's ready to put it in. Here at bottom out, that's it. I can't see how it could be really any easier, to be honest with you. Pretty foolproof because there's a little shelf obviously down in there, and once you hit that shelf it can't go any further. But you know, then that just fits in there nicely, you know, so it doesn't damage that race. And because, like I say, because it's aluminum, it's going to be easy on it. One thing I never showed you before, guys, is the underside of the frame. So this is the underneath. Like this would normally be facing the ground. The motor would be here upside down. So this is like all of the bottom of the frame. But so look at how nice the frame is. A lot of times on dirt bikes, the frames will be all bashed up on the bottom from like dumping it and jumping it, running it into rocks and stumps. This frame doesn't have any of that. I mean, this frame is in awesome condition. So if you guys are looking to buy a project bike or buy a bike on a budget, look for the frame. Obviously dented frames and stuff like that, If they're dented, they've been weakened. So, and sometimes you'll even have places that are rubbed right through the frame or rusted. So I was lucky. This one's in great shape. All right, guys, so now I'm going to show you a little ghetto trick to touch up that frame where it was chipped around the top of the neck. Let me show you. So you can see right in here, there's a couple small chips. Well, we don't want that to rust and spread. So what you do is go into your wife's, wherever she keeps her nail polish, and just grab it. But don't tell her you're doing it, because nail polish works great for doing touch-ups like this on motorcycle frames. And it also works great for detailing parts. If you guys followed the Honda TRX build that we did, this red I actually used to make an indicator line on one of the parts. Like the red was faded where it had a red line on it, and I used this. It works great because it's lacquer. But again, like I said, don't ask to do it, because she's gonna say no. So you're just gonna have to take it and not tell her. So yeah, because she's gonna say no if you ask. So. And this is why it works really good, guys, because if you've got somewhat of a steady hand, which I don't, you can kind of do a good job. And like I said, none of this will be seen, so I'm not overly concerned that it doesn't perfectly match. All I kind of want is to make sure that it has good coverage and it's not going to rust. So there. That's that. That's better than it was. Like I said, it's a lacquer, so it's going to hold up good. Just clean it down with some mineral spirits. I don't know about acetone, how acetone works with powder coat. I'm not going to try it. So there. That'll work great. Now we'll set this aside and we'll do the triple clamps and work on that. Alright, so here's the next step in the process, and just going to take my time to make sure I take everything apart the way it should be. Get that out of there. That's easy. Okay, so that comes off super easy. So all I did, guys, I just cleaned this up a little bit in the sink just to get a bulk of the grease and grime off it. And now what I'm going to do is I don't really care about this bearing, so I'm just going to drive the bearing off. I don't care if I ruin it. The only thing I don't want to scar up is I don't want to scar up this or this. So we got to be really careful. So I'm going to try to do it with just a cold chisel and a hammer and see if I can push the bearing off the top. Like I said, I don't care if I ruin it. I just want to get it off. Wow, it's moving. Look at that, guys. Wow, that's pretty easy. Now we'll do the other side. You can see I'm destroying that bearing.
Back to this side.
There we go. It was that easy, guys. There we go. Done. So now what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to clean this up really good and bring it back. So check this out, guys. So this is all cleaned up. I didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot because the chemical that I use pretty much does all of it. And this is the top, and that's what it looks like when it's not cleaned. So you can see how much better this piece looks. Literally, this took me less than 5 minutes to clean that by hand. And this is the one we're going to do next, and I'll show you how I got this one so clean here in a minute. But the next thing we got to do is we got to push on the seal, and we got to push on the bearing so we can start reassembly. And then I'll show you how I cleaned this up. It's super easy. You'll be impressed, I think. Alright, so this seal goes on next. And again, like I said, this is all direct factory from KTM. So put a little bit of grease around this just so it makes a nice seal. Also, it doesn't corrode, basically. So now we just got to pack the bearings, and they make bearing packing tools, but my dad always just kind of did it by hand. That's how he showed me how to do it. And all you're doing is you're just kind of putting the grease in your hand and forcing it down into that crack. And if you're concerned about you know, petroleum products being in contact with your skin, then by all means wear a rubber glove if that's something that's concerned you. And you just kind of keep doing it until it forces out the other side. So I've packed right here. You see how it's starting to like ooze out there? Then I know I've done a good job. Oh yeah, these turn hard compared to how the other ones turn. So obviously these are going to be nice and fresh. Should feel like a brand new bike steering wise. So now I'm just going to use a socket and push it over this first part where it's tight. But it's important that you don't push it on the outside of this race, that you contact it only on the inside. So if you push it on this part right here, you're going to destroy it. You got to push it like here, okay? So on that part, not this part. And that holds true for any type of bearing, not just these steering bearings, but wheel bearings or any other. Alright guys, this is actually working pretty good. I just got a little small punch and I'm just doing little tiny taps at a time. Now these bearing races, or these bearing collars where I'm hitting, they're very brittle. So you got to go real gentle. Now if it takes me 5 minutes to do this, then it takes me 5 minutes, whatever. Now if you had like a pipe or a tube of some sort that fit around this tight, that would also work great too. That sounds like it's all the way down. Yeah, that's it guys. That was pretty easy, so that was the hardest part. That's the only thing that has to be pressed in now. Alright guys, now I'm going to clean that second part, so watch how this works. Make sure you're wearing a respirator when you do this stuff. It's bad. Ready? Watch how this works. Ready? Here it goes. Look what it's doing. See it smoke? It's actually smoking. I just let that sit on there for a few minutes. Make sure you're wearing eye protection and stuff like that, because this isn't good. Don't breathe it. It's an acid-based material. So, watch how simple this is. I do it usually in like 2 coats. This stuff works great on cleaning aluminum. Probably the best stuff I've ever used. Look at that. That looks brand new, doesn't it, guys? Look at it. I'll hit it one more time and that'll be that. That'll be it. Done. Ready for assembly. And this stuff lasts a wicked, wicked long time. Like, I've cleaned a lot of parts and it's only down like to here. So, only a few squirts and it's good to go. So this is kind of the moment I've been waiting for. I got the frame all clamped down, so I'm just using... This is another great thing about this fab table. I mean, look how awesome that is. I just literally set the frame here, threw a rag down, a little block across it, clamped it down. And I've got the top bearing sitting in the race, and obviously the bearing's on here, so all I got to do now is slide it up through, and then put the top on, and then tighten the nut down. And we should be good to go. There. Ha 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 ha. Oh, that's awesome. Alright, I'm going to try to put this in without scratching the frame all up. There we go. There we go. Alright. And how these cases don't look great, guys. I'm going to ride this bike, so even though these cases don't look great, I'm going to mask this off when I'm done. And I'll probably just spray just the side of the case or whatever, just to freshen it up and make it look good. But besides that, I'm going to drive it and use it. So here's a great example, guys, of why it's so important to label everything when you take things apart. So look, I do a little drawing. So right side at the steering stem. So big black plug right here. And then you can see how I've drawn like a hole and a hole, which represents these. And hole clip here, it says. So there's the clip. And I know that this clip needs to go in that hole. It just makes assembly so much easier by drawing that little diagram. So there. So that sticks in there. And that goes in there. And yeah, how much easier does that make it? Much. Same thing for over here, guys. See, check that out. I've got a little plastic piece that I got to put in, and it's saying that that plastic piece needs to go right here. And that would be this little plastic piece here. Now, you know, it's a little more time consuming when you're taking something apart to get that detailed, but look how fast you can put something together though, now that you know where it's supposed to go. So now I'm just going through, putting in all the bolts and just snugging up everything. I'm not tightening everything down, and I'm not necessarily putting Loctite on anything unless it's going to need to have Loctite on it at some point. But here I am putting on a little bit of grease on that shaft for the rear swing arm, and I'm getting on that on there. And then eventually I will go back through and I will put on any type of Loctite that needs to go on it, or any type of never sees, and then I'll torque everything all at once. What I'm doing is I'm just coating the shaft of the bolts with just a little light layer of grease. That way I don't have to worry about these you know, corroding inside the part, and everything will pivot nice and good. Now the next thing I'm going to do is rebuild this rear brake, because it's all sloppy. So I just got to see what comes with the kit. So it looks like we get a snap ring, that nut, that adjuster, this bolt, new spring. Okay, good, so I can get rid of that. The Heim joint that attaches to the brake, so we can get rid of all this hardware actually. The Heim joint that attaches to the plunger brake, and all new bearings for here. Oh, perfect. That's great. So we can get rid of all of this stuff. We'll just throw it in our bolt bin to have for later if we need it. So once upon a time I had about 27 pair of these snap ring pliers, but the pair that I have isn't going to work for some reason. So, like everything else, you make do with what you got, and there we go. There we go. So that's out of there, so that's junk. Now we should be able to just push the bearings out, or drive them out. It's going, but boy, she's going dry. Alright, so we're gone flush now, so I'm going to have to put it on the vise and just kind of like clamp it on either side, make the jaws catch it on either side so I can push this out. Yep, it's going. Hey. Just going dry. These are probably original, or they cement. There's one. Here's the other. There. It's all out. Now we can clean it all up and make it just like new. So check this out, guys. This one barely will even spin. And this one here won't even spin at all. This one's completely bound up. So yeah, it was due. I got a bigger socket, guys. It just fit in a little bit snugger around that, and I just like that fit better. Yeah, that sounded like it bottomed out. Yep, it did. See that? It's all the way in. All right, we'll put the other one in. You can hear how that like bottomed out. There. Oh yeah, that's gonna be nice. That's gonna be really nice. Yep, good. Now let's put the snap ring in. Now, maybe, almost. Push it in with a screwdriver, I think I'll have it. Yep, there we go. Alright, it's in. Perfect. And I'll just put a little bit of never sees on the hardware so that that doesn't seize up inside if I want to adjust it again. Check this out, guys. Look how before that was all sloppy. I wish I would have shown it to you, but this had play all around. It was just all sloppy. Now it's nice and tight. Works just like it should. Now I'm just gonna put the radiators on. Then I'm just putting a little bit of never seize, well, Loctite I should say, on the bolts. Alright, so I just finished up cleaning this side. I'm telling you guys, this cleaner is the same cleaner that I used for all the other stuff, except for the stuff I'm using for this. It's not like an acid base, so it's safe on all aluminum. So I'm just going to put on the way these work. You have to put on these aluminum radiator guards, and these are wicked nice. I'm excited that the bike came with these, because these are a billet aluminum guard. And they're made by Bulletproof Designs, so yeah, they're really nice. Like I said, the guy bought really nice stuff that owned the bike before, you know, that I bought it from. So put the bottom radiator hose on, and I'm using Pro Factory silicone hoses. I put that on first because it's hard to get it down in there after the fact, so it'll make it that much easier to do it now versus fighting with it. Alright guys, so I think we're going to stop it at this point, but I just kind of want to show you where I'm at. I got this side all finished up, and I just slid on some radiator hoses, because sometimes it makes it a lot easier as you go to kind of like get pieces in instead of fighting them. So, and then I'll just have to put on these down tubes, but yeah, we're making great progress. So probably the next part we'll do is we'll get the forks on, get the handlebars on it, and we are getting real close to getting this thing done, and I am super happy how this is looking all around. And that's all there is to it, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're wondering what I'm working on before it makes it up to YouTube, you guys can catch me on Facebook and on Instagram. And make sure you subscribe, because I'm always uploading to stories and new videos every week. Until next Friday, guys, I will see you then. Take care. Stay safe. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys. See ya.